Hey guys, RW here, tinkering with my Redcat RS10, and I thought this would be a good time to demonstrate the utility of my RC vehicle work stand, because it can really feel like you're trying to balance too many things and you got stuff laying on its side and flopping around, and if you can support everything, it's a wonderful thing. Right now, these axles are supporting themselves. They're not being supported by the chassis. The chassis is flopping around here. It's on its little chassis stand right here, okay, which can be slid back and forth wherever you want. And right now the axles are set at 12.5. Okay, and I'm building it to check out how everything's going to fit, whether there's going to be any conflicts, anything like that. So I'm just getting into it. So you can follow along as I've modified this chassis. I've made it shorter to try and get the center of gravity lower, and so you can kind of follow along and kind of see how I'm doing here. I've got a lot of different weird little parts that I'm going to be making. I'm not really using the Redcat hardware anymore. I'm just modifying it and using my own hardware and making things work. I've made a couple of little brackets to offset the shock slightly to the side so they won't, hopefully, won't hit the motor. We're going to find out. That's the real problem with this Redcat in my mind, is the way they've got the motors set up. They're right in the way of anything that you'd like to do with shocks on axle. That's one of the main reasons that I cut the bottom off the frame. That was to get the shocks and the horns closer together. So let's just see how it goes. I haven't done this. This is a live demonstration, so let's find out, huh? Everything I'm using is M3 metric hardware. I get most of my hardware from McMaster.com. It's just where I like to get my stuff. And if you go ahead and put a couple of jam nuts on here, what you can do is you can adjust how much tension you've got on this top rubber bushing. And then when you're putting your shocks on or off or whatever, you don't have to keep messing around. Yeah, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a couple of jam nuts on. Right? And we'll get those babies just the way I want. Isn't it nice? You can just work with everything without it flopping around. That's why I made this stand, because I was getting extremely frustrated by all the crazy things I had to do to get parts to go together. It was just too frustrating for me. I want a nice amount of play on the shock. I don't want it too tight, and that's what the jam nuts are going to let me get here. So now we got one jammed up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a horn on, and then I'll just spin a couple of jam nuts on here. This will be so much fun. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is get this nutted off pretty tight against the horn. That'll help me out. And that's not going to squish my rubber bushing now, because I've got the jam nut on the other side. Alright, so now these babies jammed off, so I'm hoping my shock won't just flop off while I'm riding down the trail. Alright, so that's one done. Okay, I can live with that. So now I've got one side of my chassis frame completed. Check this out, guys. You can't do that with a big floppy pile of parts, can you? No, sir. Man, I love this. The reason I've still got the paper on this is because I want to give this to my friend Spitz Krafsky, and I don't want to scratch it up. He's building a bully too. He's got a lot of money and time invested in it, and I want to give this to him as a gift, because he's a good buddy of mine. And so what better way, you know, than to give it to him all still in paper, so it has no scratches on it, no wear marks on it, nothing like that, nothing crazy like that. So here, I've got these little tiny plates I made out of 16th inch aluminum that I got from, you guessed it, McMaster.com. McMaster Car is awesome, guys. I strongly recommend that you check out McMaster Car. Now, if you start going to different hardware, you'll find that these bottom links are 2.5 millimeter, but that's not a big deal for 3 millimeter, because what I do is you just start threading You see how nice it is that I don't have to fight the axle? I can use both my hands to control everything. See? And I don't have to drill holes or anything in it. I can just get it going. Okay, once I've got a couple threads going, I'll back it out. That way you have the full strength of your plastic. You know, if you drill it out to M3, you lose a lot of plastic there. And it may not be good for you. Now these have a little tiny burr on them. Once again, I got my handy dandy file here. Really doesn't take much to get these things looking beautiful. Tell you what, if you like to have clean hands, you probably don't want to be doing this kind of work because it is brutal. But we're now at the point where it's starting to look like something. I'm excited. I don't know why it is this RC stuff excites me so much. I really spend a lot of time thinking about it, and it's probably a bad thing. It's just an RC. But, you know, I've managed to develop some really nice tools that'll help other people. And I'm now an official vendor on rccrawler.com. Just like I used to be a vendor on overclock.net when I did pro case modding for people. I used to be a pro PC case modder specializing in liquid cooling conversions. And I was the very first vendor on overclock.net. When I joined them in 2005, I pestered the administrator for over a year to start some kind of a vending thing so that I could sell my services, because at the time all they had was classifieds, and all you could sell was like used parts, and you couldn't be a pro. If you were a pro, they got all bent out of shape about it. And I am a pro, man. I've been doing this kind of work since 1983. Started my career as a professional woodworker in 1983, and I've been accumulating tools, skills, and techniques for decades. And it just seemed a shame not to be able to offer that to the community. And then he finally caved in, and I was their very first vendor. And then I joined rccrawler.com. Now I'm a official vendor there, and I can make and sell anything I want. And even though I have not sold anything, and I haven't even started a vendor thread yet at this time, because I really don't want to sell any of my stuff until it's right. I'm really, really particular. Like this stand, okay? This is the first time this stand is actually being used. And you can see things like this, they're not even formed. I just have like a little plate here. And this isn't formed, and nothing's been polished, and nothing's... This is like, I guess you'd call it a prototype, a working example of what I want to sell. And there's already vendors on there that are selling stands, work stands, but they're not like my stand because they don't have any way of clamping the axle. I think being able to clamp your axle is critical. I think a stand where you just flop the axle up there, that's not really going to help you as much as being able to clamp it. I'm not saying anything bad about this guy's stand. It's gorgeous. It looks like a little crawler chassis. It's made out of all these itty-bitty little standoffs and beautiful metric hardware, and it's been CNC milled out of Delrin, and it's a thing of beauty. It's a gorgeous piece. But I don't do stuff like that. I guess I would if I had a CNC router. Everything I got to do has got to be big and chunky, guys, like me. Because all I got is my woodworking tools and my woodworking shop. So I tend to approach things like, can I make a template? Can I route it? Can I make something, you know, that's going to have some utility to it? I'll give you a good example of something I did last night. And this is my tire press. Now, I'm a total RC noob, guys. I've never mounted a real tire with real foams on a beadlocks or anything like that. But I knew what I needed, and I just went down and made it. I even made my own little knobs, okay? Because knobs like this cost money. You know what I'm saying? But I have the acrylic, and I have the tools, and I have the time, so I can make them myself. But I had fun doing it.